Welcome to the Visit Vallejo podcast.
I'm your host, Gary Jones, a local professional musician and amateur foodie who can't stop eating all the amazing food Vallejo has to offer.
This month, in celebration of Restaurant Week, we'll be taking a closer look at Vallejo's thriving food scene. In this series, we're meeting some of the chefs behind these iconic restaurants and finding out what life is like on the other side of online ordering. We're going to be visiting some old favorites and some really exciting up-and-coming restaurants. If you're not hungry yet, I guarantee you will be.
So my name is Anthony Guerrera, and I'm a second-generation here owner of Napoli Pizzeria. My parents bought this business in 1968, and they owned and operated it all the way through 2010, when I have three brothers. My brothers and I, we all came together and we bought this business, and we just kind of some inside baseball stuff. We went from my dad had been a sole proprietorship all along, so we formed a corporation, and even though it's a corporate owned, it's still family. You know,
right.
11 years later.
Yeah.
I'm here essentially five and a half, 6 days a week. My brothers will pop in every now and again. My dad comes in. I introduced you to my uncle.
Yeah,
when he came
very
in.
cool.
He'll pop in 3 or 4 days a week. So it really is a family affair.
Yeah.
And we like to think that makes a difference, and that people can tell.
Yeah.
So.
And so, were your parents trained chefs, or maybe go back to the way beginning?
Sure. So my dad immigrated from Italy in 1962.
Okay.
He was sponsored by his uncle, and he came to Napa. He got a job there, worked at my uncle's gas station, whereupon he met my mother, who was vacationing in California.
Wow.
That's how they met.
Cool.
And after the gas station job, he worked at the depot in Napa, which is kind of a classic Italian house dinners for Clement up there, who's still actually making malfatti to this day up at Val's Liquors in Napa. So my dad got his training from him over the course of a couple years. Then an opportunity came along here in Vallejo. The Messina family was selling this business, and my father and his brother, my uncle, purchased it in 1968, and they operated it together till I would say about 1974, 75, somewhere in the mid-70s. And then he moved his family to the Sacramento area, and they opened 3 or 4 Napoli pizzerias over there, although under a slightly different name. It's called Roma Pizzeria, but the same exact concept, very similar setup.
Yeah.
So we've had this, and then it's just my dad solo since then, my mom and dad.
Yeah. And you have a location in Vacaville and Benicia as well.
Right. So
yeah.
I had mentioned the 4 stores there in Sacramento associated with my uncle and his family. So as my brothers came into adulthood, they each kind of migrated off on their own, and my brother Chris formed the second Napoli Pizzeria in Benicia, and then a few years later my brother Michael in Vacaville. And I kind of came late to the party in a sense, because I went off to UC Davis. I got a degree in geosciences. From there I moved down to Arizona State in Tempe, stayed there about 4 years. Did some more geologic training there. Came back up here, moved to Sacramento, and had a career in geosciences up there for about 5 years. And what started happening was, I just felt some kind of emptiness, some kind of incompleteness doing that job. Not to say it was the people or even the career path. I didn't feel whole. Mm-hmm. I was sort of classically trained as a geologist, so I think in my mind I anticipated being out in the field, doing sort of rock studies for geosciences, and what ended up happening is, after about 2 or 3 years of that, I just kind of ended up in like this classic middle manager position, right? I was no longer really doing any geologic sciences at all. I was trying to win jobs. I was trying to you win a job, you have a budget. Now I'm looking at the staff saying, okay, this guy bills out at $60 an hour, this lady bills out at $90 an hour. How can we build this staff to make this budget? I was just like very unhappy with that. It
Yeah.
just wasn't for me. So I started working Saturdays down here for about a year.
Mm-hmm.
And then I just knew I had to make a decision. And then I just said, got the family together, and I said I'd like to come back in the family business.
Do you have any like early memories in the kitchen, cooking, growing up around food, that kind of?
Well, so not only did my father own this business, but he also owns this building.
Right.
And so there are a couple of rental units up above us here. And at that time, us growing up in the 70s and 80s, my grandparents lived up there.
Oh, cool.
So when summer came, we stayed here essentially 3 or 4 days a week with Nana and Grandpa. And because of obviously the proximity and school's not in session, we were down here every morning with Dad.
Yeah.
So that's how we learned to make dough. That's how we learned to roll meatballs. A lot of different things in the business. And also we saw how things changed. Back in the 70s. For example, salami and pepperoni came in big fat sticks that were like 5 feet long.
Yeah.
And the salami company representative would just have them slung over his shoulder, and they were enclosed in a natural casing.
Yeah.
And I just remember he would have a white butcher's coat, and he would just have these salami sticks slung over his head. He would come in, and my dad would say, take 2 off, add 2 more. He'd bring him in, and then the kids would start slicing. We would start slicing the salami and pepper. That's how it was. Yeah.
Did you have any recipes that you kind of brought on your own, or are you kind of just keeping with the tradition?
Yeah, so that's a question that comes up fairly often.
Yeah.
So when we took over the business from Dad in 2010, we kind of examined things a little bit, asked ourselves if there's anything we wanted to add or take away.
Yeah.
And with regard to the current recipes, we said all this has worked for 40 years.
Yeah.
So we're not gonna change this. So we kept that all the same. And then since we added some other recipes, we added our ranch recipe, our Caesar recipe, Alfredo sauce, marinara sauce, and for some of those things, for some of the sauce, we had like a pesto cream sauce. I had done them myself, experimented here in the kitchen, and I just had to recognize my limits, so to speak. So we have a relationship with one of our vendors at the time, US Foods, and I reached out to her, and she brought in a consulting chef as part of our arrangement.
Right.
And it was a discounted price compared to what I might pay for a consulting chef. And he spent a day with me, and he just taught me some things, and he taught me the Caesar, he taught me the Alfredo, and it made all the difference.
Yeah.
Instead of trying to figure it out in the dark, just had to listen and learn for a day and practice, and then we were able to put it on the menu.
Cool.
And I remember when we first put the Alfredo on the menu. The Alfredo went on the menu for the fettuccine Alfredo pastas, and we would make a batch of it, and we would say, okay, we put like a day dot sticker on it, and be like, okay, this is Monday, this will be good till Thursday. And then Thursday would come, and we'd throw half of it away. And then the next batch would happen, and then 3 days later we'd come and we'd throw it away. And after about a couple months of this, I was just like, man, is this really going to work? Is this what people in Vallejo want? But now here we are, 7-8 years later, and we make a batch a day.
So have you noticed just any kind of trends in the community recently? Like, I know that we're trying to get the food scene going in Vallejo. It seems like this is kind of a stalwart kind of the community.
Yeah. Well, I just remember coming through 2 very tough times and some booming times.
Yeah.
I remember when President Clinton closed the military bases, which I think was in the mid-90s, if I recall. There used to be 10,000 people working on their island in the 90s. In its heyday, there was probably 30,000. And I remember as a kid, around 4 o'clock, basically from Sacramento Street all the way to Maryland Way, it was just traffic because people coming off the base. And then it was gone.
Right.
And my dad's business took 15 to 20% hit. And so he just had to retrench, and make sure he focused on quality and make sure that he focused on the takeout and the dine-in, because now delivery was gone because we used to deliver to Mare Island. That was our delivery niche, Mare Island, because it was fairly close, right? And so that was gone now. So went through that, made it through that, and then it got some better times, and then the economic recession in 2007 with the housing collapse and all that, which hit Vallejo really, really hard. So many foreclosures, so many short sales. I mean, I can remember, you get to know people as you do this, but I can remember real estate agents coming in here and just having a meatball sandwich and a salad, working on writing up all their short sales. There were just so many of them at the time. It was just a really bad and dark time. It also was concurrent with the city of Vallejo shrinking its police department from about 150 to 80, maybe, almost in half. So it just made you wonder what is going to happen. But we made it through that.
Yep.
And then after that, I think that coincided with the time that President Obama came in and things started growing, 2 to 4% annually, or 2 to 3% annually a year. And it really was boom times, and has been boom times here all the way up till pretty much the end of President Trump's administration until COVID. And then I just want to talk about how pandemic has affected the staff. The staff has been great. I mentioned earlier, most of them have stayed. I think I've hired maybe 2 or 3 people in this year, because I've been blessed enough to not have to hire, because they've stayed and they've worked hard, and we're like our own little family. And sometimes we joke that we're our own little dysfunctional family because there's always things happening, right? But still, we're there for each other, right? And so COVID happened in March, and then a couple months after that, we had to start wearing masks, and this was a problem. I mean, in the sense of people have their own constitutional beliefs, they have their own religious beliefs, they have their own healthcare beliefs, and a lot of people did not get on board. And we were trying to enforce a healthcare mandate that came from Solano County, and sometimes that was at odds with all these other people's beliefs. And sometimes it has not been easy for the staff. Right. But they try and handle it as professionally as possible. They stay calm. We still want to serve these people, and we just politely let them know, hey, if you step outside, we'll bring your food to you. And it's been really good. They've handled themselves really well. So I just really need to plug for that. And this one that you've seen walking by a couple times, Gina, she's been with me for 6 years. She has gone from server to a manager. Yeah. I had an opening, and she just stepped right in. People don't become, in my view, let me put it this way, people become valuable in companies or for businesses, not by talking about how they're going to become valuable, but just by doing. Right. And then if you're any kind of a conscious ownership group and you have your eyes open, you will be able to see this. And I was able to see that with her, and couldn't hold her back, couldn't deny her. So I brought her up, and she's excelled at it. I think she's super proud, and she's experiencing more financial success, and I think has this pride that I don't think I could pay her enough for. It just makes her feel good, So she's doing all that while raising a family, while going to school. She's doing a fantastic job, and that's just one little sidebar about my staff, which I really want to applaud. Would you mind if? Just to get a different perspective, if I had my manager Gina come over?
No, not at all.
At this point, we get to sit down with Napoli's manager Gina, who is busy making pizza dough from scratch with Uncle Vinny. She's been working at the restaurant for 6 years now.
I've been working here since I was about 15 years old. I'm 21 now. I started here as a cashier. I moved myself to dishwasher, to prep, to pastas, to patting, to ovens, to pizza make. And now I'm a manager / pizza maker. And I work Napoli's is like a family to me. Anthony gave me my first job when nobody else did. He's always been there for me. He's like a father figure to me. So eventually, someday when he wants to retire, me and my family are looking to own Napoli's.
Cool.
So yeah, I love Napoli's. I love pizza making. I love everything about it.
Yeah. And are you from Vallejo?
Yeah, actually, I never heard of Napoli's until I started working here
Okay.
because, you know, we didn't have a lot of money growing up, and so Napoli's is pretty pricey. So, you know, but it's worth it. The price is way worth it because everything's fresh. Like, we make the dough every day. We make the meatballs, the chicken. We shred mushrooms every day. We shred fresh cheese every day, fresh parm. So it's worth it.
Yeah, you can tell. And were you interested in cooking before you got your job, or was it like, I want to get a job and then?
Yeah, I actually wasn't. I was just looking for a job anywhere, and then once I started working here, I was like, hey, this is pretty fun. This is cool.
Yeah.
Making things from scratch.
Yeah.
It's pretty fun.
So you know all the family recipes and.
Yes, I do. Yes.
Okay, so what's your favorite thing on the menu?
Oh God.
If you had to eat one thing for the rest of your life,
From here,
that's it. That's all you can eat.
probably a tortellini with Alfredo sauce.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. Cool. So, it's obvious that COVID's like super tough times.
Yes.
In your opinion, just like kind of take us through your experience with the pandemic and being in the food industry.
So before COVID hit, I also was a server, and so it sucked when we had to shut down for serving because of COVID. But it was nice for me because I still got to work. But it was sad for other servers. It felt really weird because as long as I've known Napoli's, we've always had dine-in.
Yeah.
And so it was strange for it to be empty, and a lot of our customers say that it's strange having it empty all the time.
Yeah.
But for takeout, I'm very grateful for our customers because we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for them, and we have had good business, but not as much as when we had dine-in, but still, it keeps us above float.
Yep. Nice.
So I'm grateful for that.
Yeah. Do you have any other things you can think of just Napoli related that you'd like to share?
I'm pretty sure you've seen Uncle Vinny. Yeah. I love how Tony's family, Papa Tony will come down here and he'll do maintenance on the building, or he'll come down and roll some dough, or Uncle Vinny, he'll come in. So I love that Anthony's family still comes in and, helps out.
The cool thing that I love about Napoli coming from the East Coast is there's a lot of takeout pizza out here. Mm-hmm. There's not that like pizzeria feel where everyone comes in for lunch or dinner and actually sits down and eats at a pizza place. And you have that here, which is really cool.
You just so nailed it. I've always wanted to promote that in our social media, just when I talk to people, when I observe people. I just love it when they can come in here and have a pizza at the table, have a pitcher of beer or a round of sodas, and then when they get done or before they go like this.
Totally,
right?
totally.
And that just tells me, without even knowing them, that just tells me that they're comfortable.
Yeah.
And it makes me feel good. And that's what I want when the time comes, when we get to reopen. I want people to be able to come back and feel that pizza parlor feeling.
Yeah.
I don't think that's a word that we use too much out here in the West Coast, pizza parlor.
Yeah.
It's more of an East Coast thing.
Yeah.
I know that because my grandparents are from Massachusetts.
Yeah.
And they always refer to it as a pizza parlor. A bunch of uncles and aunts from the Massachusetts area, pizza parlor. And that's what I want my customers to feel. And I really do believe that combined with the comfort food and the family nature, I really do think they get that.
Oh yeah. Yeah. It's the second I walked in to this place, I was like, oh, this is like, I totally brought me back. So I have a fun question. If you had to eat one thing on your menu, that's the only thing you could eat for your life, what would it be? Okay,
let me see. I do get some version of this now and again. If it had to be any type of pizza, or what's your go-to pizza or go-to pasta. If I was forced, I would have to say it would be penne with meatballs.
Okay.
Yeah, because we make. I think they're making meatballs right now, but we make the meatballs every day.
Oh,
at the top of the day. So they're just super fresh. They're nice and plump and fat. And then we just combine the protein with some of the carbs of the pasta, a nice slow cooked ragu,
Yep.
our meat sauce, which we're making this morning. I got here right about 9 this morning, put it on at 9, and it's going to be cooking till 4 o'clock.
Right.
So it's not about, some things you just can't do fast.
Right.
It's just about letting the flavors integrate. That dough that you were making, that you saw them making, that they were putting in trays, it's going to be at its best 24 hours from now, because the gluten is going to get a chance to do its thing. The yeast is going to be able to keep generating its CO2 and its other components. There's a little bit of dairy in there, so there's going to be some lactic acid bacteria in there, which are going to munch on a little bit of sugar, and they're going to give off some byproducts. All those things, they're just going to integrate those flavors, and it's just going to be just a bit better tomorrow than it is today. And so that's what we go for. In other words, time makes a big difference. Is, I guess, what I'm trying to express.
Yeah, that's cool. And do you have a family recipe sauce that's been going?
It's my dad's recipe. Haven't changed it not one single bit.
It's in the vault somewhere, or it's in your DNA at that point.
Yeah, it's in my DNA. But you kind of alluded to something that is one of the things that we had to change transitioning out of Dad's business, which was, when Dad was here, myself, brothers were here, there was like 12 of us here, a staff of 12, and nothing was really written down in terms of recipes.
Right.
And then as we grew the business, eventually we, at our height before summer of 2018, I guess you would say. Hey, Chris. Good. We were at like 27 people.
Wow.
And so, not everybody's going to be able to memorize a recipe. So, just have them sign a disclosure agreement, and everything's in a notebook, and so that we all, I'm not going to be able to make the sauce every single time right now. Yeah. So I got to make sure that the next pasta cook who comes in makes it like I make it. So got to have everything written down.
Yeah. Yeah. And it seems like, at least in these surrounding areas, like Vallejo, Benicia, Vacaville, they can tell though there's something, the quality is kind of what's selling it for you guys.
And one of the things that they can definitely tell, and I gotta tell you, it's a lot of labor, and I'd ask myself, several times throughout the years, is this worth doing this? And here is the thing, is the Parmesan cheese. We get these big 25-pound wheels of Parmesan cheese throughout the week, and we have a shredder, and we shred it every day. And then we take that freshly shredded cheese, and when we ask you if you want cheese and peppers after you buy your pizza, and you say yes, we're giving you cheese that was just Parmesan cheese from Italy that was just shredded that morning. And it's a lot of labor. And I thought to myself, I could just go to the distributor and buy the little packages and just hand those out. And I was like, every time I think about that, I think to myself, but no, this is what we're known for, this quality product. If we do this, we wouldn't be differentiating ourselves from the chains. And these are the little things we must do to differentiate ourselves. Same thing with the ranch dressing. It's a homemade batch from scratch every day.
You can tell homemade ranch. Yeah, definitely.
You can tell. And that's why we call our the server I mentioned earlier, Dieta. She saw us making raviolis one day, which we make from scratch. We make the pasta from scratch, the filling, everything, and we make them. And she saw us making them one day, and she's like, because Dad and I were making them, and she says, you know what? She's like, those are pasta pillows of love. So it's kind of like you were saying, it was made with love.
Yeah.
And it really is. And we make our ravioli a couple times a week. And again, it'd just be so much easier to just go online to the distributor and hit in that item number, and I could get 500 of them.
Right.
But they're not going to be filled as much as ours. They're not going to be made 2 days earlier, and the customers will be able to tell the difference.
Right. Yeah. So are you guys active on social media? What platforms are the best way to kind of follow you guys?
Well, for the longest time, it was Yelp, in the sense of people left their reviews on Yelp. And then now, as it became more video and image-rich content, we've really kind of moved over to Instagram.
Yeah, that's
and,
fun.
And of course, we've got our baby steps on Facebook right now. Spend a lot of time on Instagram. We do have a Twitter account. See you later, Uncle Vinny. Have a great day. Okay. Yeah, we do have a Twitter account at Napoli Pizza One. But for whatever reason, when it comes to food, I think Twitter is much more niche than Instagram and Yelp and Facebook.
Yeah.
And then we also have, and it's not that we have this, but there's also TripAdvisor, and a lot of people, especially tourists in the summer, they'll come in here, they'll get food, and they'll post to TripAdvisor.
Yeah. Did you get quite a bit of tourists?
Yeah, a lot. People, they find us. It's amazing.
Yeah.
They do find us.
Yeah, we're the bitty city by the bay, and but there's a lot of great food to offer, and you guys are one of those places.
What else can I share with you? So as I mentioned earlier, we try to keep it local where we can. Yeah. We get our coffee from Moschetti Coffee. Mm-hmm. And I'm actually on a quest to work with, I believe it's called Hummingbird Bakery. Yeah. Here in Vallejo. I'm supposed to meet with their ownership group and see if we can't have a local dessert here. Ooh, we have a couple desserts, but I'd like to add another one. And, Vallejo helping Vallejo, I think it's great.
Totally.
So, and we have beer from Mare Island Brewing Company, which I believe we were their second client, which I'm proud to say. Yeah. We have beer from Napa Smith. So, that's where we're at.
Yeah, sounds good. Thanks so much for spending some time with us.
Thanks so much for listening to the Visit Vallejo podcast. Big shout out to Manny and his team at Visit Vallejo for all their hard work during Restaurant Week. Thank you to all the local restaurants for having us out and chatting with us. Please stay safe, stay hungry, and eat local.